I'm William Boyer, the Public Information Officer for the City of Pasadena. We're here at the beautiful University Club on the Fuller Seminary campus, where business and industry leaders from Pasadena and throughout Southern California are joining together with city officials and others for the first ever Business and Economic Summit sponsored by the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome to the first Pasadena Economic and Business Summit. We're very pleased that you've all come here today, that so many of you are here. My name is C.L. Keaty. I'm with UBS Financial Services, and I am chairman of the board of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce. I'd first like to thank our partner in today's event, the City of Pasadena, for their support of this inaugural Economic and Business Summit for Pasadena. And I'd like to recognize Mayor Bill Bogart, City Manager Michael Beck, Assistant City Manager Steve Morrell, and Julie Gutierrez, and of course, Economic Development Manager Eric Deichart for all your support in helping us put this on today. Thank you for the sponsorship so that we could make this a success. This event is organized through the Chamber of Commerce's Economic and Business Development Committee, and I'd like any of the committee members that are here today to please stand. I'd also like to recognize my colleagues on the Chamber Board, so if other members of the board would please stand. Thank you. And finally, and not least, also the Chamber staff that is here putting it on. I know Paul is here and Leanne, and so I'd like to recognize their strong support in putting this event on today. Going on down with thanks, of course, our corporate table supporters, the intellectual property specialist, Christy Parker Hale, Citizen Business Bank, Pasadena's Foothills Association of Realtors, the local daily newspaper, the Pasadena Star News, Singpoli Group, and TTG, who you'll hear from both of them later in the program. But again, thank you for your support and sponsorship. We certainly have other people in the room that I'd like to recognize for being here. We have, I believe, Mark Rocha from PCC, if he's here. Bobby Abram, the Executive Director of PCC Foundation, Laura Olhasso, the Mayor of La Cañada Flint Ridge, Terry Murphy, CEO of Pasadena Foothills Association of Realtors, Frank Girardeau, the editor of Star News, the business editor of San Gabriel Valley News Group, Kevin Smith, Terry Lemonchek, the Executive Director of Pasadena Arts Council, Paul Zundenek, whoa. Executive Director of Pasadena Symphony and Pops, and also pleased to recognize the City Department heads, Fred Dock, Bill Wong, and Marcy Santero, Public Information Officer, William Boyer. So thank you all for being here today. I'll also like to take this moment to do a little chamber commercial, if I may. The Chamber of Commerce is thriving in the city of Pasadena. And despite the economic challenges to our members and our economy over the past 3 years, our membership has grown 10% year over year. We are financially stable. We keep very busy doing everything we can to ensure the prosperity of our members. And at the same time, we work to support our local economy and ensure our city provides the appropriate growth and development so that we can all continue to flourish. Quite frankly, if you are not part of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce, you are really missing a great bet. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I would like to invite Pasadena's Mayor Bill Bogart to the microphone as he's coming up. We all know Bill is the first citywide elected mayor in modern times. He has been re-elected twice and continues to serve Pasadena with extreme distinction, leading the City Council as well as being an excellent representative and advocate for Pasadena throughout the world. He is also, without doubt, the hardest working mayor we have ever had in the city of Pasadena. Mayor Bogart.
Thank you, CL, very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to join with the Chamber in this very important, I think, and valuable briefing on economic trends and developments. This is an important partnership between the city and the Chamber because it is so critically important that City Hall hear from our business leaders and exchange ideas that will inform the business decisions that we all make in future weeks and months and years. Thanks to Paul Little for coordinating this event. I want to thank the very impressive list of speakers and panelists for their participation, particularly extend a welcome to Bill Allen, who has just returned to this country from a trip to China, who brings such expertise and background in economic trends in Los Angeles County. I look forward to hearing all of the discussion today. As the official representative of City Hall, I have the duty of saying, I'm the government and I'm here to help. Kidding aside, the city plays an important role in our local economy. Related to our business support, we provide police, emergency services, water services, electric power, roads, bridges, sidewalks, local buses, and a wide range of other services to make this city, this is our intention and our hope, a great place to live, to work, to study, and to play. At City Hall, we take this responsibility very seriously, and we continue to take steps to make sure today's capital investment in municipal programs support tomorrow's entrepreneur. For example, we continue to upgrade water mains throughout the city, and the Council has recently approved funding that will add a new 68 megawatt gas turbine to our local power plant. You are probably aware the city has completed a wide range of new upgrades at the Rose Bowl, along with a new press box, what is now called the Terry Terry Donahue Pavilion. This represents a $181 million investment in the renovation of the Rose Bowl Stadium to assure its continued viability and prominence in the life of this great city. Other recent investments, I hope this will be of some interest, I won't go on too long. The purchase of low-emission transit buses and fire trucks, installation of electric distribution wires and cables, including 56 miles of overhead and 230 miles of underground cable, which represents about 38% of the total miles of distribution circuits. The city resurfaced almost 29 miles of streets and slurry sealed over 58 miles in the last 4 years. Other notable accomplishments to keep the Pasadena financial house in order include local pension reform, with employees picking up a higher percentage of their pension costs. Our goal is for the employees across the board to pick up the full employee assessment from CalPERS for each annual contribution to the pension plan. Another resolution of structural defects in the general fund, the water fund, the building fund, and the health fund. Just to give an overview, to remind you all about the scale of the city's budget, our overall budget for the current fiscal year ending next June 30th is $678 million. The operating budget, including both the general fund and our enterprise funds, such as Pasadena Water and Power, $530 million. Capital improvements that will be put in the ground this year, this fiscal year, $95 million. The operating budgets for the three operating companies, Rose Bowl Operating Company, the Rose Bowl, Pasadena Center Operating Company, and the Pasadena Community Access Corporation, the total of those budgets is $52 million. So we have an enterprise of some considerable scale, and we're convinced that we always have plenty to learn from the intelligent and hardworking people who make up the local economy, the private sector economy of this city. There are no dramatic economic upswings to talk about today, but I can convey a general sense of optimism in Pasadena's economy, and that's based on the boost that we get from the chamber, from business district groups, the bids, institutions like Caltech, the new movement Innovate Pasadena, and a great variety of business sectors contributing to local investment. We have new hotel rooms under construction, new Class A office buildings breaking ground, significant activity in property acquisitions by outside investors to report. Each of these items indicate people are eager to be part of Pasadena and to invest in it. I am sure Bill Allen will provide us with a sharp review of the regional economic trends that complement what's going on here in the city of Pasadena. Now, I want to acknowledge my colleagues who are here today. Some of them mentioned, but other city representatives, would they please raise their hand to represent, to show the participation by Pasadena City Hall this morning. We have the city manager and senior leadership for several departments attending. They are eager to hear from all of us and to lend help as appropriate. Let me say to the business representatives in the audience, thank you for choosing Pasadena as a place to conduct your activities. I can assure you that I am proud to be associated with the talented people in this room. Thank you for coming today, and let's have a good conference.
Thank you, Bill. You're lucky I knew Donahue's name. I went to SC. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, William C. Bill Allen. Bill is President and Chief Executive Officer of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation and the World Trade Center of Los Angeles. Mr. Allen is also a board member of Film LA, Vice Chair of the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley, and the Board Secretary for the Valley Presbyterian Hospital. He is a member of the Board of Directors of the Weingart Foundation, International Economic Development Council, California Stewardship Network, Regional Economic Association Leaders of California Coalition, Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, Los Angeles Coalition for the Economic and Jobs, Unite LA, and the Rozier School of Education at the University of Southern California. Active in regional economic development for more than a decade, Mr. Allen was the first CEO of the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley from 1996 till 2000. In 2000, he was named California's Civic Entrepreneur of the Year by the California Center for Regional Leadership. Mr. Allen has served as a trustee of the University of Southern California, chair of the Creative Arts Emmy Awards for the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, co-chair of the National Council for Families and Television, and co-chair of the Shaping Tomorrow capital campaign for the Valley Presbyterian Hospital. He has also served on the Los Angeles Economic and Jobs Committee for Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, the Leadership Council and Board of Directors for the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, Business Advisory Commission to the former Speaker of the California Assembly, Robert Hertzberg, and the Alumni President's Council Advisory Group to USC Presidents Stephen B. Sample and C.L. Max Nikitas. He has also served on the advisory boards of the California Center of Regional Leadership, the Media Arts Academy at Los Angeles Valley College, San Fernando Valley Economic Research Center at California State University at Northridge. Mr. Allen is a veteran television network and studio executive with more than 20 years' experience in entertainment production and management. He is the owner of Meadow Lane Enterprises, Inc., licensor of a Library of Classic Television Series, and Meadowland Music, Inc., which is the publisher of popular music catalog. From 1991 through 1995, Mr. Allen was president of MTM Television, the highly regarded independent production company founded by Grant Tinker and Mary Tyler Moore. A cum laude graduate of the School of Cinematic Arts at the University of Southern California in 1979, Mr. Allen also received his master's degree in business administration from Pepperdine University in 1983. In 1991, he received a certificate in 21st century management from the Graziodio School of Business and Management at Pepperdine, and Mr. Allen and his wife Marie reside in the San Fernando Valley. So it is my pleasure to welcome William C. Bill Allen. Thank you.
So I just said to CL that was very generous, and I also need to tell my new assistant at the office not to send my long-form bio when people ask for a brief introductory bio. I am delighted to be here with all of you today and appreciate very much Mayor Bogart being here. You are so fortunate in this city to have such an exceptional leader as your mayor, and I would encourage you to give him another round of applause for his leadership. I'm a very big fan of this man. One of the things that you did not hear in that long litany of positions I've held in my career is that of an economist. So I find it a little ironic that I'm here today to give you the current state of the economy. Normally we would have our chief economist, Robert Kleinhens, here today, but Paul Little was very kind to extend this invitation to me, and I wanted to listen to this great panel and be a participant in your Economic and Business Summit. So bear with me as I give you my best shot at the current state of the economy. I thought I would start by telling you just a little bit about the LADC for about 30 seconds, just to make sure you understand where it fits into the overall economic picture here in the region. The LA County Economic Development Corporation was created by the County Board of Supervisors back in 1981, consciously as a nonprofit public benefit organization outside county government, to be led by folks like you, to be led by the private sector, under the belief that the private sector knows more about what we need to do to advance the economy than the county government would. But we've had extraordinary support from the county government for the more than 30 years of our existence. We have 240 members who are leading employers in the private sector, as well as educational institutions, as well as cities like Pasadena, that has been a long-time active, supportive, and engaged member, represented by the mayor and Eric Deichart, your economic development director. We have strategic partners like the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership, led by Cynthia Kurtz, who most of you know, to whom we provide a business assistance executive named Bob Machuca, who may have worked with many of your businesses through the years as he's been stationed out here in the San Gabriel Valley. We have 36 people on staff spread throughout the county in a variety of different roles that I'll quickly touch on. A free business assistance program that this past year won the International Economic Development Council Award for the finest of its kind in the country today. A Kaiser Center for Economic Research that employs 6 actual professional economists. I am not one of those. An economic and policy analysis group that does fee-based consulting for the private and public sector to do deeper dives into economic issues and policy issues so that we can all make more informed decisions in the private and public sectors. A World Trade Center for the Los Angeles Long Beach area. Really, we cover the whole county, but associated with those 2 great seaports, the 2 largest seaports in North America. A public policy group that takes what we learn from working with literally thousands of businesses and the research we do on this economy and helps develop and inform and advocate for sound public policy at the federal, state, and local level to advance the economy of this region. Something called our Southern California Leadership Council, founded by 4 former governors back in 1995, 2005, one of who's again become our governor, Governor Brown. He, along with Governor Davis, Governor Duke-Machen, and Governor Wilson, founded a Southern California Leadership Council with 25 CEOs from 6 counties throughout Southern California to address issues larger than our county, but issues that affect all of us here locally and throughout the state. And they've been very effective working with Governor Schwarzenegger when he was in office, and now continuing to work with Governor Brown now that he's back in Sacramento on issues of statewide significance. So it's a robust program, and one milestone that we just crossed that I want to share with you is that business assistance program has just helped attract or expand or retain, 3 things that we count, a total of 190,000 jobs as of this month since that program was started in 1996. Those jobs add over $12 billion in salary and benefits to people in this Los Angeles County. So what I was asked to do was give you a current sense of the economy, which I do with the help of our Kaiser Center for economic research. And I'm going to quickly touch on the U.S., California, and then LA County and San Gabriel Valley economies, and then give you some thoughts to ponder as we move forward into the panel discussion. First of all, mostly good news on the U.S. economy after some very difficult years nationally and globally. You see the unemployment rate continues to decline, has now reached 7.2%. The trend is going in the right direction, not as quickly as we would like, but it is going in the right direction. The reason it's not going as quickly as we would like is because GDP growth has been relatively modest. The green bars that you see at the right reflect the most recent growth in 2012, quarterly annualized growth that is less than 2%. We've been averaging less than 2% in this recovery. We need more like 3.5% to 4% of GDP growth to bring that unemployment number back down to the 6% level. And the same will be true when I talk about California and our local economy. Personal consumption has rebounded somewhat from the depths of the recession, but not fully to where it was earlier in the decade. And there are a variety of reasons for this, constrained credit and consumer confidence being among them. On the bright spot, U.S. total new vehicle sales are up substantially. If you look at these charts that reflect the performance of recent years since 2008, you'll see the black line at the top is the most recent year, 2013, when we have finally decided to go back out into the market and replace the cars that we're all driving that are now on average 10 or 11 years old, the oldest in history. So that is a bright spot that will help local city government with the sales taxes and is an important sign of economic recovery. The consumer price index is still relatively modest. Inflation is modest. Core inflation running about 1.7%, all items at about 2%. The federal budget receipts and outlays are finally coming back a little more in line. As we get more people back to work, that red line at the bottom begins to rise, those receipts as a percent of the federal budget, and the outlays, stimulus-related outlays, and providing coverage for people when they were unemployed, that begins to moderate, and you see we're getting back closer to balance there with the outlays and receipts as a percent of the federal budget, the right direction we want to be going. Key interest rates have been in a general downward path since the mid-90s. As you can see on this chart, recently began to rise a little bit earlier this year when the Fed began to talk about tapering, but of course in the last few days have begun to moderate again, as it looks like that tapering is a few months off farther into the future than we might have thought, but this is obviously important to watch. Among other things we want to be watching about the U.S. economy is the quality of jobs that we're creating. There's a lot of talk that we're only creating MIC jobs. That's not totally true. There are some high-end jobs as well as some lower-wage jobs that have been created. There's some concern about the middle-skill jobs. So we'll want to look at the quality of jobs, and the pace of job creation is still all too slow. Housing sector fortunately continues to improve. Durable goods are up. We saw the vehicle numbers there. Business sector capital spending has been reasonably solid, but of course it's interest sensitive, so as interest rates begin to rise again, you'll want to watch those numbers. Government federal budget cuts are a drag on our economy, particularly here in LA County, where we're particularly concentrated in defense industries. Sequestration and other budget cuts have impacted our regional economy, but they also, on a national level, help cut the deficit. So there are a variety of ways of looking at these federal budget cuts. Fortunately, the state and local fiscal situations are improving, and that is important. International trade is improving as our trading partners' economies improve. I was just in China for the last week with our largest trading partner here in the LA County economy. We happen to have, if you're not aware, in the LA Customs District, the largest customs district in the United States. Over $400 billion a year of goods flow through that customs district, more than half of which is with China. So it's an important trading relationship and an important source of foreign investment, as you'll hear from our panelists, and we were there seeking more of that investment and encouraging more of that trade in one of a number of very successful missions we've conducted in recent years. We even have an office representing the LADC in the People's Republic of China. We were also, by the way, in Taiwan for part of our week and had very productive conversations with a number of extraordinary Taiwanese companies that are interested in either entering this market or expanding in this market. Our forecasters in our Kaiser Center made a forecast earlier this year for 2013 and 2014. And while they, in February, will probably revise the 2014 numbers, they're sticking by the 2013 numbers, showing a 1.8% increase in GDP, 1.6% in non-farm jobs growth, expecting a 7.6% average for the unemployment rate. As I said earlier, it's 7.2 right now, but we look at the average for the year, and it looks like it will probably be close to that number. And consumer prices at 1.4%. As I said, on the month-to-month that we were looking at in the earlier chart, it was currently at 1.7, but our forecasters were pretty close back in February when they made this forecast for 2013. And 2014 will probably only see modest adjustments that they'll make in February at the annual Kaiser Center forecast that we do. Let me just touch on a couple of good pieces of news about the California economy. The California economy generally tracks the U.S. economy. Our growth rate, as you can see by these parallel bars here, generally tracks the U.S. Performance, although it's important to know that in the last 4 years, since 2011, we have actually, our GDP has actually outpaced the U.S. GDP growth, and that is significant. Also, California employment, though our unemployment has been higher than that of the U.S., the recovery of that unemployment has been faster in the last couple of years than the U.S. recovery, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I brought a couple of facts to share with you about the California economy that I had shared in China this week that I think are important for us to know. As of this month, California is the #2 job-creating state in the nation, with 223,900 new jobs created in the last year and 826,000 new jobs created since the recovery began in February of 2010. California employers have added jobs for 26 straight months, and that is the longest streak of any state in the nation. The number of employed Californians grew by 3.3% in the last 12 months. That's the largest year-over-year employment gain since 1990. And we have the 5th best GDP growth rate among the states in the U.S. So the California economy is brightening, but I hasten to add that we lost 1.3 million jobs during the recession, and we have only gained 805,000 of those back. We still have about 500,000 jobs to regain at the current pace. It'll take more than another 2 years, so we'll probably be looking at the end of 2015 or early 2016 before we replace all the jobs we lost for the population we had before the recession. The population has grown, so we need even more jobs for the people who reside in this state. So it'll probably be well into 2016 or 2017 before we can get back to an appropriate level of unemployment in the state, and there's still a lot more work for all of us to do to be sure we get there. Let's look at LA County itself in a little more depth. LA County's unemployment rate is coming down finally after having reached a really very troubling high of about 13% a couple of years ago. It's back down to about 10%, similar to the Inland Empire. I put Orange County on here as well. It's a smaller, more concentrated county, better education levels, more concentrated technology sector, more coastal community, and like many of the coastal communities in California, its unemployment rate is always lower than LA's and continues to be. So we've still got some work to do in LA County. In LA County, we lost about 350,000 jobs and have only gained about 150,000 of those back. Still have about 200,000 to go, and we think it could take 4 more years for LA County at the current pace to regain the jobs just for the population that existed here before the recession. Again, the population has grown and we'll need even more jobs. So you could be looking at 2018 before LA County has enough jobs for the people who want them here in our communities. Looking at industries in LA County, professional, scientific, technical services, educational services, financial activities are performing very well in job creation, reasonably good in leisure and hospitality, construction, healthcare and social assistance, administrative and support and waste services, pretty flat in manufacturing, transportation, warehousing, utilities, losses in jobs over the last year in government, information, and wholesale trade. We look a lot at the LADC at the major export-oriented industries, what we call the traded clusters in LA County, the industries that bring wealth into the region by virtue of the sale of their goods and services to places outside this county, whether it's to other counties, other states, or other nations. When we create something that others find of value and pay us the value of that good or service, it brings wealth into our region. So at the LADC, we try and focus on these industries like entertainment, trade, business services, private education institutions that bring world-class students here from around the world, aerospace and analytical instruments, fashion and apparel, hospitality, and others, and also some key local serving industries, retail, medical health, and others. So a little bit of attention to those. On location film production days, I've got my Film LA hat on now for a minute, are up modestly in the last few years since we started the California Film and Television Tax Credit Program, a very important program that we were late to employ here in the state after dozens of other states had begun aggressively wooing away our film and television production activity. So much so that if you look at the blue bars at the bottom, you will see that back in the early part of the last decade, back in 2001, there were about 10,000 days of feature film production. These are the best kinds of production days. They employ the largest numbers of people. There were 10,000. Before we started the Film Television Tax Credit Program in 2009 and 10, that had sunk to about 5,000. We'd lost about half of all feature film production activity to other states, states that were offering extraordinary incentives. We targeted our incentive at a much more modest level of 20% of below-the-line production. Other states are paying as much as 30 or 40% to woo the production away from California. And we have found that simply the 20% that we've made available is sufficient to win productions back, because about 300 productions apply for that 20% credit on the first day the applications are available each year. Only about 30 of them get it, and the others then start looking at other states. We need to increase that. Now, the state raised some interesting questions. Is this returning a positive return on the investment to the state treasury? Obviously, it's returning billions of dollars and thousands of jobs to the economy, but is it actually a case of the state subsidizing one industry over others? And the fact is, no, it actually does return positively. We did a study at the LADC that showed about a $1.13 return for every dollar invested to state and local government. UCLA did a peer review of ours and found about $1.04, but we both agree that it is positive. It is above $1. The industry itself is working right now to try and improve that return even further, and has an understanding with the governor that if they are successful in that effort, he will encourage a substantial increase, because we only have $100 million available in those film credits. New York has almost $500 million available, and that's why they're the second largest production state. We need to increase that credit. It actually is very, very good for the economy and very good for the state budget. I'll skip through the employment on that since I talked a little bit about that in detail. Let's talk about trade activity. Trade supports hundreds of thousands of jobs in LA County and the Southern California economy, not only in our trade and trade-related sectors, but in the manufacturing area, where we are the manufacturing leader in the nation. More manufacturing employers and more manufacturing employees in LA County than any other county in the nation. We saw a precipitous drop-off in trade activity during the recession, from a high of 15.8 million containers in the middle of the decade to a low of 11.8 million containers in 2009. That bounced back pretty quickly in 2010, but only halfway back, only to 14 million, and it stayed there, partly due to constrained consumer consumption. But this is something we need to watch, because what happened is the employment in this sector dropped along with the cutbacks at the ports, and has not recovered very meaningfully. It's been pretty flat since then, and it's going to take some increase in those container numbers at the ports to see the trade-related employment rebound as much as we need it to. Manufacturing, I mentioned, we are still the leading manufacturing center in the nation, a surprise to many people. California, if you don't know, is the #1 manufacturing state with 1,200,000 people employed in manufacturing. Texas is a distant second with about 700,000. We have more in Southern California doing manufacturing than the entire state of Texas, which is the #2 state. And LA County alone is 355,000 people employed in manufacturing. You see these manufacturing numbers dropped pretty significantly Earlier, and by the way, I'm not sure that these dates are correct here. I think, I'm not sure these dates are correct that are on this chart, to tell you the truth, but what this chart should reflect is a pretty significant drop that occurred early in the recession period and then flattened out more recently. This manufacturing employment number has been pretty flat, both in durable and non-durable. It is important to look at this next chart and understand that manufacturing employment has been pretty flat, as you saw by an earlier chart I showed and by that last monthly chart. But manufacturing output is up significantly in California and also here in LA County. A lot of people talk about manufacturing moving out of the state. Some of it has. The bigger issue for the loss of jobs in the manufacturing sector is technology. I spend a lot of time visiting manufacturers. I visit our aerospace manufacturers and other high technology manufacturers. And when I walk the floors of the major aerospace companies that are developing commercial or military aircraft, they show me where there used to be 10 people working at a particular station applying rivets to a panel for commercial aircraft. And today there are no people at that station. There is a machine that very accurately and very efficiently, very quickly applies those rivets. And that's why production is up more than 50%. Output of manufacturing is up more than 50% and more than $100 billion in value in the last decade, but jobs are not up. A lot of this has to do with production efficiencies as we advance manufacturing. So when you hear us talk nationally about advanced manufacturing, this is very important for American competitiveness, but it creates a challenge for us in finding good jobs for people in manufacturing industries. Professional and business services employment has seen pretty good growth, 3% year over year, 16,000 jobs in the county. Retail employment's been pretty flat, only up about 0.3%, only about 1,300 jobs. Leisure and hospitality is doing a little better, up about 5%. Some of this is unprecedented number of visitors coming here from other states and particularly other nations. By the way, from China, I think about 500,000 people visited from China last year, and those numbers are increasing substantially as both the Chinese airlines and the American airlines add more flights. That is a substantially increasing market. Some of it is just local leisure and hospitality, us using our consumer dollars to go out to dinner more and to bars and restaurants in the area. Since we're not making as many big purchases as we might have made, we are going out for entertainment experiences. So both the domestic side and the international visit side explain that increase in leisure and hospitality. We've seen a big rebound in housing prices. We've seen an increase in housing sales. We expect both to moderate somewhat as interest rates begin to recover, but it looks like we're up about 40% off the bottom of around $300,000 for the average value of houses in the county, back up now into the low 400s. It was about 25% year over year. We do not expect that level of increase to maintain. Let's talk about the San Gabriel Valley for a minute. San Gabriel Valley lost a significant number of jobs from the peak of 650,000 in 2008, about 41,000 jobs. Actually from the peak to the trough was actually about 53,000 jobs. We've recovered about 12,000 as of the end of 2012. We still have 41,000 jobs to recover here in the San Gabriel Valley itself. So we have work to do, those of us who are stewards of our regional economy. Unemployment rates in 5 of the largest cities in the San Gabriel Valley are all moving downwards. Pasadena, you'll see, has the best unemployment rate of these 5 large cities and is under the unemployment rate of the county, so outperforming the county. They're all going in the right direction, but they're all still above where we'd like to see them be and where they will need to be if we're going to get those last 40,000 jobs recovered here in the San Gabriel Valley. Key sectors that drive the economy, of course, in this valley: healthcare, higher education, international trade, food manufacturing, processing, biomedical, retail trade are among the drivers of this economy here in the San Gabriel Valley that we'll want to pay attention to. The jobs distribution in the valley, you see here, health services, professional and business services, the 2 largest sectors of employment. Take note of those shaded sectors, the export sectors, because again, as we strengthen our manufacturing, wholesale trade, transportation sectors, they all support the wealth creation in the valley. These are export-oriented traded clusters that are important for bringing wealth into the valley. The industry composition in this valley is changing over the last decade. I talked about manufacturing jobs declining. In this valley alone, manufacturing jobs have dropped in the last 10 years from 86,000 to 54,000. 30,000 less people working in manufacturing in this valley, but 21,000 more working in health services. So it's a shift in the economy, and you need to be paying attention to these shifts as we think as educators about what we should be training people to do, as we think as government and civic and business leaders and economic stewards about where we want to place our energy to ensure a long-term, healthy, diverse, sustainable economy for the San Gabriel Valley. Industrial vacancy rates are extraordinarily low. At the LA County level, 2%. At the San Gabriel Valley level, less than 1%. People do want to be engaged in industrial activity, and I'll talk a little later about the importance of preserving industrial land in our cities and county unincorporated areas in the valley. These industrial parcels are critically important to key sectors of our economy, to the manufacturing sector, to the entertainment sector. Every sound stage is on industrial land, to the goods movement, warehousing sectors. These all require industrial land, and we need to preserve this industrial land. Office vacancy rates, a little higher, better in the San Gabriel Valley than across the county, but you see the disparity again. Office vacancy rates at a reasonable level, industrial vacancy rates at a scary level. When I meet with these companies, and I travel regularly to China, Taiwan, India, Korea, Japan, Canada, UK, Germany, I go all around the world seeking investment for LA County. Many of the interested investors need industrial land and can't find it where they want it in LA County. Now, they can find it in other parts of the state and in other states in the union, but we do want them here in Los Angeles County. They provide good jobs. In many cases, they provide pathways out of poverty for people, but they provide well-paying jobs with good benefits, and so we need to ensure that we have sufficient land for them. We're only seeing about half the amount of non-residential permits for building commercial and industrial as we were seeing before the recession, so that's of concern. Residential building permits, of course, are way down, but starting to come back. We like the trajectory of that and expect that to continue to increase. Taxable sales in the San Gabriel Valley are climbing again and have been pretty steadily since the recession. Our forecasters at the Kaiser Center have made a few forecasts for the California economy of continued modest jobs growth. The California jobs growth has probably slightly outpaced these, and again in February when we update the forecast we may have slightly better numbers. The California unemployment rate for next year may be a little below the 8.7 that we're projecting. Personal income increasing, we think, modestly this year and more robustly next year in 2014. Taxable retail sales, though, moderating a little bit. And housing permits, you see some pretty significant growth we're projecting for 2013 and 2014. LA County unemployment, we're continuing to project reasonable job creation, but as I said, at the pace that we're projecting, it's going to be another 4 years till we recover the jobs lost during the recession. Could be another 5 till we have enough jobs to accommodate the additional population. County personal income, we also project steadily upwards as population grows, as employment grows, as wages and salaries grow, and that's good for sales tax revenue. So, from our economists, they will tell you that there's obviously clear progress since the Great Recession, but obviously less than satisfying. I don't think any of us in this room feel all that excited about the pace of recovery in our local markets or nationally. People ask frequently, will we ever get back to normal again? The labor market is showing slow, steady gains. The state and local fiscal situation is improving. The real estate markets are continuing to heal. So we're on the right path, but moving very slowly along that path. What can we in this room do to help? We believe strongly at the LADC that each of us has a role to play as a steward of our economy. I, like many of you, have raised my children to be good stewards of our environment, to understand that they've inherited an environment that they need to pass on to the next generation in as good or better condition than they found it. I feel the same way, and I'm raising my kids the same way when it comes to the economy. We've inherited an economy. We didn't create this. It was built up over years and generations of investment and planning and market activity, and we've inherited an economy that we need to leave in as good or better shape for the next generation. So be proactive and strategic. Don't just react to opportunities, but be proactive, whether it's in your role as a business leader, a government leader, an education leader, a civic leader. develop and execute a plan. We did that for LA County, and it has paid significant dividends. We did it apparently for the first time in 2009 when we asked if there had ever been a consensus strategic plan for economic development in the history of the county. The answer was no. And so we brought 1,080 stakeholder groups together: business, labor, government, education, environmental communities, community groups, faith-based groups. They hosted the meetings. We didn't. 26 different public meetings were held all around the county by these various constituencies, and they created a plan. We would encourage you to do the same in this valley, in this city. Base it, as we did, on a good analytical foundation. We surveyed 5,000 businesses. We held focus groups with key cluster leaders in the various sectors. It was a consensus-oriented plan representing the interests of all those stakeholder groups, so people weren't opposing any element of the plan. It was sector and cluster focused, and it had clear objectives and metrics. I'm just going to very, very briefly, in about 2 minutes, tell you the highlights of this plan. It is an absolute obligation in a 21st century information age economy to prepare a better educated workforce. We must do better at basic education at K through 12. We must get people further along the higher education system. The Milken Institute put out a study, I think in the last year or two, that showed extraordinary benefits to GDP and per capita income in regions that have higher education levels, and assert that if you raise the education level of the people in an area by 1 year of schooling, you can actually raise the GDP in that area by 10%. It's an extraordinary benefit. Businesses need to be able to find workers with the right skill sets if they're going to locate here and remain here. And we need to direct people towards the right careers and towards the jobs that are existing today and in the future likely to exist. And we can make pretty reasonable projections about that. We've actually published some work on occupational analysis out of our economic policy analysis group that our city and county WIBs are using today. We need to be a more business-friendly region. That's a role for our governments, but also for all of us as citizens, to try and create an environment in which businesses can start, can grow, can thrive, and can survive in a globally competitive world. We need to focus on retaining our existing job base while also going out throughout the world and seeking new investment, new industries, new jobs for our region. And we need to do it in a sector focus. The needs of a health care, biomedical, life science company are very different than the needs of an aerospace company or an entertainment company. We need to understand that as we go to recruit businesses to this city, to this valley, to this county. We also need to leverage the extraordinary research and development institutions we're blessed with. There's no better than the one you're blessed with here in Pasadena. Caltech was rated the #1 research university in the world by the UK Times. It received the first ever Eddy Award from the LA EDC last year for outstanding contributions to the development of the economy here in the LA County area. And we need to more aggressively enhance the innovation ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem here to create new companies, new jobs. We need to focus on our quality of life, which this mayor and the city have done such an extraordinary job of. This is what attracts the creative class. It's what attracts investors. It's what attracts entrepreneurs. It's what attracts skilled workers, visitors. Absolutely essential that we have safe, healthy, vibrant, mobile, diverse, affordable communities, and that we provide attention to low-income communities and provide all available resources to helping these communities. We have to have smarter land use. When I showed you that slide about less than 1% vacancy rate for industrial land, all throughout this county we have found that industrial land has been converted to other uses in recent decades. Despite the fact that we're the manufacturing center of this nation, the city of LA has documented that they've converted about 27% of all their industrial land. Only 8% of that city was ever zoned industrial. They've taken almost a third of it away for other uses, and while the rest of the county created about 300,000 jobs over the last 25 years, the city of LA lost 100,000 jobs over that 30-year period. And a big part of it is because they drove away sites and drove away companies who needed those sites. So think about your jobs creating land in your city, in your valley, in the communities you live in, and develop and rehabilitate land to meet those strategic economic development objectives. And build 21st century infrastructure for a 21st century economy. So that includes energy, water, transportation, communications, ports, airports, education systems, healthcare systems. We need an appropriate infrastructure network for a 21st century economy. If you want to learn more about what the collective wisdom of the LA County civic community was through that year-long process back in 2009 that resulted in a plan that has since been endorsed by 84 cities, including Pasadena, through the Council of Government, the San Gabriel Valley Councils of Government, met and unanimously endorsed the plan. I believe they were the first of the councils of government across the county, and since then all of them have. And the county supervisors all endorsed that plan. And many of the cities have individually endorsed the plan and started developing their own plans based on it. You can find out more at lacountystrategicplan.com. And if you want to know any more information about the economic data that I shared with you, we publish all of this on our website at laedc.org. There's a whole series of reports, and there's even a free weekly update service called e-Edge that you can subscribe to at no cost, and every week we'll send you updates on the county economy. So I hope this is helpful to shed a little bit of context before this great panel that we're about to hear from. And I think the representatives of this panel are exactly the right kind of representatives who represent what we need to be doing to help stimulate further growth and position ourselves for longer-term vitality, vibrancy, sustainability in this city, valley, county, and state economy. So thanks very much for letting me be part of the discussion today, and I look forward to hearing from the panelists. Thank you.
Bill, thank you very much for that comprehensive review of national, state, and local economy. I think that was very helpful for everyone here today. It's now my pleasure to basically introduce each of the panelists that are here today so they can enlighten us about their company, their industry, its place in Pasadena, what the future may hold, and how that can impact us here. Each of our panelists is going to provide some insights into their company, but also their perception of their industry, the opportunities and challenges they face, and how that fits into our local economy. We'll hear from all four of our panelists individually, but before I introduce them, I would like you all to know that we will have an opportunity for questions at the end of all of their presentations. Our first panelist is Zara Astorian, who grew up in Lebanon of Armenian heritage. He received his BS degree in civil engineering from the American University of Beirut and his MS in structural engineering from USC. It's a real theme here today, isn't there, on the USC stuff? Okay. Anyway, Mr. Astorian worked as a structural engineer for Neptune and Thomas Architects, now NTD in Pasadena. From 1989 to 1999, he was president and CEO of ASL Consulting Engineers here in Pasadena, and currently he is president and CEO and principal of TTG. Under his leadership, TTG has grown 400%, from 3 offices in 15, from being only a Southern California company now to working in 5 states, California, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, and Florida, and internationally as well. Mr. Astorian is a registered civil and structural engineer in California, a structural engineer in Nevada. He is a 40-year resident of Pasadena. He's married to Sosie Astorian, and they have 2 sons, a daughter, and a 3-year-old grandson. Mr. Astorian, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, thank you very much. I want to first thank the City of Pasadena and the Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event and inviting TTG to be part of this distinguished panel. In the next, yes, go ahead, 10 to 15 minutes allocated to me, I'd like to do 3 things. One is I'd like to introduce you to TTG. Then I'd like to give you a few reasons why we like being in Pasadena. And then I want to piggyback on Bill Allen's presentation and give you some forecasts looking from where I sit. First, let's talk about TTG. I'm just curious, how many of you have driven on the 210 freeway and looked towards Lake and seen the letters TTG on top of a building and wondered what TTG is? I'm just curious. Anybody noticed it? Okay, very good, quite a few. All right. Well, the letters are the initials of the founders of our company. Our company started in 1955, and we used to be called TMAD Taylor and Gaines. And now we've taken the initials and shortened it to TTG. We have the third generation of leaders basically leading the company. TTG is a full-service engineering and management firm, and we're unique in that we offer practically all of the engineering services a construction project requires in one place. We have structural, civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering, plus a list of sub-specialties. In a nutshell, you take a reputable architect and put together with TTG, and you don't need anything else to get your project completely designed at a high quality. I'm confident that most of us here at some time or another have benefited and enjoyed TTG's work products. We can design almost any project. However, certain project types are a specialty with us, and I'm going to name those. Here are a few. 1/3 of our work is designing hospitals. Hospital facilities that our firm has designed include the following: Arcadia Methodist, Huntington Hospital, Glendale Adventist, Glendale Memorial, Providence Burbank, Providence Mission Hills, Los Robles in Thousand Oaks, many Kaiser hospitals, including the largest, Kaiser Downey, Cedar Sinai, Children's Hospital of Orange County, Hoag Hospital in Newport, Sutter in Northern California, and just completed Military Hospital at Camp Pendleton. We have also designed many schools from K to 12 and up to higher education. We have worked on most of the Pasadena school buildings, campuses, at PCC, at Los Angeles Unified School District, and most of the Los Angeles community colleges, at UCLA and USC. Two recently completed project examples are the Los Angeles Performing Arts Building in downtown and the Robert F. Kennedy School at the old Ambassador site. And currently we're designing the Norris Center at USC. Another specialty is aviation. We've done work at all Southern California airports, mostly at LAX, where we have recently upgraded the international terminal, the Tom Bradley Terminal, and we also did the engineering for the recent West Terminal expansion at Tom Bradley. If you recently walked through LAX and you felt like maybe you were walking through a construction site, most probably we are to blame. We also design other governmental buildings, such as police buildings, courthouses, fire stations. We designed the new LAPD